And Lee, I'm refreshing this page as we're about to start talking here because over the last 5 minutes, we have received reports of hundreds more people without power between Lenawee and Hillsdale counties. This person doesn't exist. Neither does this one, nor this one. These images of reporter dogs weren't taken by a photographer. This art wasn't designed by a human. All of these images were generated in seconds by artificial intelligence, or AI. Really a mess up there at DTW today. We heard from multiple people who were experiencing a lot of those travel headaches because of the flooding that we were seeing there. Yeah, and if you followed this story for a while, you know that there have been a lot of different locations that have been eyed for this, including most recently the health department. We're joined by a special friend, Santa Claus, the man of the day, the man of the month. This day so far, 9,500 toys dropped off here to our studios. How do you put this day into words? Think of what you could do with $20 billion. In Ohio, you could start by buying the Browns, Bengals, Cavaliers, Guardians, Reds, Blue Jackets, FC Cincinnati, and Columbus Crew, and still have nearly $7 billion left over to head up to Detroit and buy the Lions, Tigers, and Pistons. Oh my. $20 billion is money that the FDIC doesn't have anymore after it bailed out Silicon Valley Bank earlier this year. Sorry about that. I was texting my mom. But at least I'm doing it here and not on the road like this person. Right now in Ohio, a police officer can't pull this driver over or this one because they see them texting and driving. But that's about to change.
Our Josh Croup is standing by live with a look at other videos and photos sent to our newsroom today.
Yeah, and Christian, the images have been pretty remarkable throughout the day, including here at the Cedar Lane RV Park in Port Clinton. Thanks to Brandy for sending this in to us. As you can see, these guys on the left ended up getting out the boat and the oars to make their way out. And this other shot from Brandy shows a couple of RVs and vehicles even submerged here. Austin in Sandusky sent us this photo today, and this is a scene that we saw not just here in Sandusky, but cars going into water that was just too high. The old saying, turn around, don't drown. We have to continue to say it because, as you see, people continue to drive into high water. Let's round things out with Dan showing us the kayakers here in Port Clinton going down 10th Street here in Port Clinton, as was the case for several other people who were trying to make the most out of this day. Vance first told us on the campaign trail that he feels the United States has given enough financial aid to Ukraine in the war against Russia. Hours after taking his oath of office, the Republican doubled down on that when I asked him once again. Important to note, Vance is replacing Senator Rob Portman, who was the co-chair of the Senate Ukraine caucus and made supporting Ukraine one of his top priorities at the end of his term.
So who's opposed to this idea?
Well, right away, the ACLU of Ohio coming out today and saying it's going to push hard against this bill. The group's chief lobbyist says in his mind, he thinks this will contribute to overcrowding in prisons and says it's mistaken to think that if the state just locks up traffickers for longer, drug problems will be solved.
They probably also want to find out how they escaped. Does anyone have any indication?
And that's something else that state troopers, anyways, who are handling this investigation haven't detailed yet, as their investigation is ongoing. How elaborate of a plot was this really? You may remember another high-profile escape happening at this exact prison involving 3 inmates, including convicted school shooter T.J. Lane. That manhunt ended up lasting 6 hours. Lane was caught 100 yards from prison. This time, Tony, a very different scenario. We're going to look back at that prison break coming up tonight on Action News at 6.
Today marks 1 month since that toxic train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. Still, questions remain about what happened and what's going to happen. Here's Josh Croup with Why It Matters.
Things haven't been the same in parts of eastern Ohio and western Pennsylvania since February 3rd, around 8:55 p.m. Now, a lot has happened in and around East Palestine since then. A train derailed, residents evacuated, explosions were feared, a controlled release of chemicals was conducted. People started returning home, people started reporting illnesses, Norfolk Southern started paying up, more federal help showed up. A health clinic opened, the former president visited, so did the transportation secretary, who called for change. Crews started removing hazardous waste, then stopped, found new disposal sites, then started again. Through it all, residents have demanded information. For weeks, environmental officials have said the water and air are safe. Some residents, some activists still aren't buying it.
I'm sorry, something is not right here.
There's been no shortage of information or misinformation. There's been no shortage of frustration, like at a town hall Thursday night with Norfolk Southern and the EPA.
We're going to clean up the site.
There's been no shortage of national news coverage, especially after images of that toxic plume went viral. But after 1 month, what happens next? Testing will continue, cleanup will continue, state and federal investigations will pick up, the national media will inevitably pack up. The government and the rail company assure residents they won't. The plea this week from the state senator who represents the area to those officials.
It is a marathon, and please don't leave us. Please stay with us. We can heal. We can be whole again.
Toledo could have been East Palestine. This disaster could have happened anywhere. A lot has happened in a month. But what happens next, what change happens next, is worthy of your attention. And that's why it matters. Josh Croup, 13 ABC, Action News. 7 months after Ohio lawmakers voted to eliminate August special elections, we're preparing for an August special election after Republicans brought one back this year to get ahead of November's expected vote on enshrining abortion rights into the Constitution.
Listen, this election is 100% about abortion.
A yes vote on issue 1 would make it harder for abortion to win in November and future citizen ballot initiatives, raising the threshold needed to pass from a simple majority to 60%. It would also make the process to collect signatures to put an issue on the ballot more difficult. Democrats say the timing has energized their base to defeat issue 1.
Rather than having a fair election about abortion rights in Ohio, Ohio Republicans are once again trying to rig the game.
Ohioans gained the ability to lead citizens' ballot initiatives to create laws in the Constitution in 1913. Since then, 71 amendments have made it to the ballot. 19 have passed.
It is a long-held tradition in this state, citizen-led ballot initiative, and they won't want to see changes made to that.
Many Republicans' public messaging has been centered around protecting the Constitution from special interest in outside groups instead of abortion.
That's what the Democrats want to make it about. They think that's a winning message for them. It's not.
Ohio GOP Chair Alex Triantafilou says the party's messaging is focusing more on protecting the Constitution instead of restricting abortion access, but recognizes that's one benefit to the GOP of issue 1.
These extremist measures that the Democrats, frankly, in this state have proposed, would not be enshrined in our Constitution as easily.
Outside money has been key in setting up this election, with the GOP mega donor from Illinois funding a pressure campaign to urge skeptical State House Republicans to back the idea. The state GOP is ramping up public messaging campaigns around early voting to try and increase turnout and convince some skeptics that it's okay to vote that way.
The Democrats have done a better job of corralling the early vote.
Meanwhile, pro-life groups are launching new TV ads to try and convince voters to say yes to issue 1 to make it harder for the abortion amendment to pass later this year.
Our base is energized about this. I'm not entirely sure whether the Democrat base is. I don't think they are. I think some of what you're seeing from them is manufactured.
But Democratic Party Chair Liz Walters says her party is unified around defeating issue 1 and turning out to vote in August.
What this is really doing, I think, is uniting Ohioans who want a better future for our state, on how to get involved, on how to make their voices heard. And you're just going to see that continue to grow throughout the year.
When a venomous snake bit a person in the middle of the night in Indiana, it started a race against time to save their life.
And the race started at the Toledo Zoo. 13 ABC's Josh Croup live with the story behind this life-saving relay. Josh.
And that relay was a team effort between the zoo, state troopers, dispatchers, and sheriff's deputies. We were surprised to learn this isn't exactly uncommon.
This guy's a younger one, so you can see it just has a smaller rattle on him.
John Chastain knows snakes. He's worked with venomous reptiles for 2 decades. The Toledo Zoo expert also knows how dangerous a bite can be from one of these guys.
It's not like a bee sting where you can walk away from it and next day you're not feeling it anymore.
In October, Chastain received a call in the middle of the night from Indiana Poison Control. Doctors needed anti-venom that they didn't have in stock to treat a snake bite patient.
Is this like an immediate action, like siren situation? Okay.
It is, yeah.
A state trooper met him at the zoo.
Thought we had some freezer packs. I'm just going to throw these frozen vegetables in there to help hold temperature.
The trooper rushed the drug to the state line, where he completed the handoff to another trooper.
Here you go, brother. Be safe. It's wet.
Health officials say the person survived and is doing well. Chastain says the anti-venom likely saved their life.
So the snake that this person was bitten by was a saw-scale viper, which is a fairly dangerous one without treatment. It does cause internal bleeding and hemorrhaging. So without treatment, there's a good chance you could succumb to the bite.
He says the Toledo Zoo has one of the best stockpiles of anti-venom in the country, and it's not rare for another hospital to call him for help, whether it's in a neighboring state or on the opposite side of the country. And often, like it did in October, that call comes in the middle of the night.
It's never at lunchtime, you know, where I'm sitting in my office having my lunch or whatever. Never a convenient time. No, I'm somebody that always likes chaos and randomness too, so it's, to some degree it's kind of fun getting those calls at 3 in the morning and trying to figure out what's going on.
Now in emergencies, the Toledo Zoo does jump in to help, but Chastain stresses the general public should not rely on the zoo to treat their snake bites. In this case, the snake was native to northern Africa and the Middle East, not the Midwest United States. He discourages people from keeping venomous and exotic snakes as pets. Reporting live, Josh Croup, 13 ABC Action News.
Are underway into a Nazi homeschooling network allegedly operated by a couple in Northwest Ohio. Online reports surfaced this week about a group which has thousands of members. 13 ABC's Josh Croup on the story tonight, live with the questions state leaders are trying to answer tonight. Josh?
Yeah, and Lee, these reports have spurred calls for change and more oversight of Ohio's homeschooling programs. But there's also resistance to changing the system at all.
Yeah.
Making sure children become wonderful Nazis. The goal of a homeschooling network allegedly operated by a couple in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. Reporting this week by the Huffington Post and Vice News went inside a social media channel with nearly 2,500 subscribers that's dedicated to helping parents radicalize their children with Nazi-approved material.
We have to decide, is this the type of civic education we want to have children exposed to? Whether it be homeschooling or any other, curriculum.
There are now growing calls to make changes to Ohio's homeschooling system. As the law currently stands, there's not much stopping parents from teaching similar lessons at home. They are required to provide at least 900 hours of instruction in basic subjects and provide some samples of the child's work. But the state does not approve curriculum.
This is something where we just can't sit on our hands.
State Board of Education member Teresa Fetter of Toledo says investigations are underway to see if tax dollars were used to support this homeschooling network and see if the parents were in compliance with Ohio law. Democrats want to see changes to the law to allow more oversight of homeschooling curriculum. But the top-ranking Republican in the Ohio Senate says he doesn't think broad changes are necessary.
I hope, frankly, that people will not try to take some political advantage or policy advantage, basically trying to decide that a couple of sociopaths somewhere in Ohio who are doing strange things, that somehow should affect the policy of the rest of the state.
Now, Senate Republicans are looking to advance legislation that would change who regulates Ohio school curriculum from the Board of Education to somebody who would answer to the governor. Some Republicans are also right now pushing to weaken homeschooling oversight. Reporting live, Josh Croup, 13 ABC Action News.
To a 13 ABC follow-up on last month's deadly pileup on the Ohio Turnpike. Investigators now say more than 70 people were hurt in that crash that left 4 others dead near the Erie-Sandusky County line.
The Ohio State Highway Patrol released body cam video from troopers as they surveyed the damage. 13 ABC's Josh Croup takes us through the massive scene.
And some of this video is hard to watch, showing how far and wide the crash site was and the conditions first responders dealt with. Near whiteout conditions on the Ohio Turnpike, the snow whipping in the wind, showing how low visibility and weather played a factor in that deadly pileup crash.
You doing all right? Yeah. All right. Just checking on you.
New video showing troopers navigating through the wreckage after most of the 73 people injured were removed from their vehicles.
Are you one of the drivers? Yeah. Because they're taking everybody to the maintenance building.
The crash leaving 4 people dead, coming 2 days before Christmas during the busy holiday travel season. From semi-trucks to pickup trucks to family SUVs, troopers say 51 vehicles were involved. Cars crunched together next to semi-trucks, others pinned or crushed underneath. Supplies from the back of those semis scattered throughout the highway. Crews finding at least 1 dash cam of the wreckage, hoping to use it to get a better idea of what happened.
Yeah, all we can do is try.
That full body camera video is on our website. Now, troopers say the crash is still under investigation and it could be a lengthy process to piece together all of the details here. Once it is complete, it'll be sent to the Erie County Prosecutor's Office for review to determine if anybody should face criminal charges. Josh Croup, 13 ABC Action News.